Hey there, YouTube. My name is Amy. I am a witch and an aspiring author. I am here today to do the Authortube Newbie Tag. It seems to be the way that most people go about introducing their channels, and I think it seems like a great idea. I have no idea where the original list of this is. I just kind of watched a whole bunch of these videos myself and just kind of wrote down questions that I thought were the most valid or the most interesting or just things I would want to know. So I hope that works for you guys. And yeah, thanks for being here and checking this out. Let's get into it. So, question number one, what made you start writing? I'm going to try not to get super long-winded on this and get into my whole entire life story and try to answer these questions, but I do have ADD, so you've been warned. For me, I actually grew up listening more to audiobooks or radio dramas than I did actually watching television, and there's a lot of reasons behind that, but I had a different kind of family, put it that way. Um, so for me, stories, especially in the form of written word, were always just kind of like my comfort space, and it was always also a form of escapism, like it is for most people. I love stories, and I just remember by the time that I read my first chapter book myself, it wasn't an audiobook or anything, I actually read it myself. I believe it was Treasure Island, and I fell in love with the story, and it was so fun. And I've always been one of those weirdos that just likes how the pages of a book smell, especially like really old books. Like I would just go to a used bookstore and just like sniff the pages. And so one of my biggest life goals is to write my own books, at least one, but probably a lot, let's be honest, because I really like it. But yeah, that's one of my biggest dreams, is to be able to like hold my own story in a book form with my name on it and know like that's my brainchild. So I started writing when I was probably a little bit before I got into high school, and I would sit there in school and like I went to a kind of a more advanced school when I was younger. So by the time that I got into public schools, by like seventh or eighth grade, I had a very different, like I had already learned a lot of the things that I was being retaught in public school, if that makes sense. So I would get bored in my classes a lot, aside from math, because I always just have sucked at that. But everything else, I would get really bored and I would just sit there like pretending to take notes, but I'd actually just be writing stories. So yeah, that was kind of my thing. Question two, how did you find out about Authortube? Well, I discovered Authortube, I want to say 5, maybe 6-ish, going on 6-ish years ago. I think some of the first channels that I discovered were Jenna Moresi, Alexa Dunn, Natalia Lee, is it Lee? Lay? And Abby Emmons. Those are like still some of the ones that I watch the most, but I've spread out to a lot of smaller channels at this point too, and that's honestly why I decided to like make this video and jump on here, is because I have kind of like fallen in love with this community, like in my own introverted way, and stayed behind the scenes, but I really want to get in on that. So, what is my book's pitch? Well, I don't want to get too in depth as of right now, and I do technically have more than one project I'm working on. However, I'm just, for the sake of time in this video, I'm just going to mention my primary project. The other ones I really only work on when I have extra time or inspiration, and they are important to me, but not in the same way. So my primary project right now that I'm working on is the first book in what is going to be a series. I don't even want to say the names or anything right now. Like I have the names, but yeah, I don't want to get into all that right now because I have a lot of questions here to answer. But suffice it to say, it is a epic fantasy series that very heavily involves fairies. However, though I'm taking from both real world history and real world folklore pertaining to fairies, what I am actually creating is a little bit different than any fairy stories that I've personally read. But I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be really exciting, but I'm going to talk more about that in future videos that I make, probably just while I'm geeking out with you guys. So, um, what do I usually write and how long have I been writing? I feel like I sort of already answered how long I've been writing. I don't know. Now that I'm looking at these questions, maybe I should have looked at them again before I started this, but whatever. So, what do I usually write? Usually I write fantasy, some sort of fantasy. I've typically, most of my life, written more urban fantasy, but, and actually this story that I'm working on right now, my series that I've really just begun in the last few months, that was originally an idea that was going to be an urban fantasy, like set in this world in this time period. And it might eventually extend out into that, connect. But I have personally always wanted to write my own epic fantasy, create my own world from scratch, and all the histories and the religions and all of that kind of stuff. I really geek out about that. Um, but yeah, I also am a big fan of mystery and horror. So I like to combine those kind of elements into my writing as well. That's usually when I get like the most excited. I like a combination of like action adventure, horror, magic, all that kind of stuff. What will I never write? I will absolutely never write erotica. I won't. Here's the thing. I feel like most of the time when I read a sex scene in a book, it's either really like kind of just funny to me or just comes across as really unrealistic or is just like very cringe. Like there's very few sex scenes I've read in books that I actually like I feel like the author has like achieved their goal and like made me horny about it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, like if it's a sex scene written by a male author or a more masculine presenting author, then it's just very like unemotional physical descriptions and just like not really my thing either because really words for body parts are just either funny or just like cringeworthy. And when women or female presenting people write sex scenes in books, they are just so unrealistic and like cheesy, corny that I'm like, you know? So, and I feel like part of that also, in my opinion, is like if I'm writing something, there is a part of it that is personal to me. And I might not be writing my personal experience, but it's still not really something I want to share with the world. Um, as well as everyone has different kinks. So I almost feel like it's more fun for a person if they get to like read a book and like ship some characters and then can fantasize about them on their own time, write your own fan fiction or whatever you want. But everyone's opinion of what is hot and sexy is going to be pretty different. So I'd rather just let people leave that up to their imagination. And, trauma's a thing. So let's see. Am I a plotter, a pantser, or a plancer? I would say probably a planter. I have a very specific system that works best for me that is kind of a combination. Like if I am too rigid with my outline and figure everything out down to the dialogue and everything for every chapter, I will get bored and feel like I already told that story and I just like won't have any interest in actually writing it. However, if I just sit down and start writing like I did when I was in high school, I would just, write in class. I didn't plan things out. I just kind of like would see movies in my head and write down what I was imagining. And if I do that now when I'm trying to like be a serious writer and actually complete a story, I need something to go off of, or I definitely lose my inspiration, get confused, forget my own world building or like where I was going with things. So for me, I need like kind of a bare bone. I call it like a bare bones outline. Like 3 to 5 sentences for each chapter of like what happens in that chapter, important things that need to happen, and then like I fill it out on my Scrivener in each, chapter slot or whatever. And then I can just like sit down and go through and just start writing. And it seems to be working best for me. So definitely a plantser. Do I schedule or wing my writing time? Either. I would say either. Yeah, it really, that is just, I do schedule, but my schedule, I work for myself. My schedule is constantly in motion. So I do the best I can. I will probably talk about this in future videos in greater depth, but I do have this guy right here, which is my writing schedule that is ideal for me. But again, life is constantly in motion. So I do the best I can. And if I have inspiration and time, I will just sit down and write anyway. Let's see. Which publishing path would I want to go down? So I haven't completely decided. I'm honestly open to either or both. I might use both at some point in the future. For my fantasy epic that I'm writing, I would like to probably try traditional publishing at first, at least with that one. But yeah, I don't know. I have thought for a long time that I would just self-publish, still get editors and all that because I want like professional quality stuff. But I have definitely done some research into the positives and negatives of both. So I'm still kind of on the fence, and I feel like I have time to figure that out. But it would be kind of cool to be able to find my own agent, regardless. Anyway, so what is my biggest struggle with writing? My biggest struggle, I would say, honestly, I would say my biggest struggle is character development. Like, I know the arcs that I want my characters to go on, um, but I think for me, like, actually fleshing that out is like one of the things that I'm at least more nervous about. Like, if I'm showing the character growth and development in the way that I want to. But yeah, that just means there's more to work on, right? Best writing skill. My best writing skill, I think, and from what I've been told from college professors and people who've read my writing, I think I'm pretty good at description without like overdoing it. I think I have a pretty good grasp on my language in a way that I can deliver um, deliver something that feels very solid without just like watering down the story itself, if that makes sense. Um, what is my personal goal? I'm assuming that means when it comes to writing, um, or maybe with this channel. No, that's the next one. My personal writing goal is yeah, to be a professional author. I do, like, this has been a lifelong dream for me, and it's one of the few things that I have consistently seen myself doing with my life is being a writer and sharing my stories, and especially writing fantasy. So that's my goal. What content do you plan on sharing? Well, I want to kind of do a combination of like Authortube and BookTube things. I want to do book reviews and talk about some of my favorite books or just like popular books that I've read and my opinions on them. I want to talk about awesome characters and stories that I really appreciate and compare like how to tell a good story with a bad story, those kinds of things. I also want to just share my process, like share things that I found work for me, share things that I've talked to other writer friends of mine and like how their processes work and like maybe help people figure out, what is the best way for them. Most important, I'm really also just here to have fun. Like, I am just starting out on this journey in a more professional capacity myself. Like, I am not a published author. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, I know the best, whatever. Like, I know how this works. I just want to share my journey with people and like share their journey with them too. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to, I'm here for the community. I'm here for the fun. I love a good story. I'm really into a lot of different fandoms and a lot of different universes. And I want to talk about things like that and talk about, world building and how to create really interesting worlds and magic systems. And like, I want to open up conversation with you guys. Like, that's truly the main reason that I am here more than anything else. I have been following this community, like I said, I think earlier in the video, I've been following this community for like 5 years now, and I just really flip and love it. And so, like, the last question that I had written down is, what are you most excited for? Like, honestly, that's what I'm most excited for, is just to like have fun with this channel, have fun like making connections with other writers, and also just like big book nerds on YouTube. Like, most of my community in my real world is very social, very artistic, but in a lot more extroverted artistic forms than writing tends to be. And so I do find myself missing having that kind of connection with people who also do more introverted art forms like writing. So before I start getting super repetitive because anxiety, um, so if you made it to the end of this, thank you so much. Please like, subscribe for more videos. I am going to be posting at least once a week on Wednesdays. And at least when I first started out on this channel, like some of the more fun, simple to shoot videos, I might be putting out more frequently. But my goal is minimum one video a week, Wednesday mornings. So thank you guys, and I'll see you around.